Welcome to Ask the Latina. I'm your host, Terry Beltran. This program is about the opportunity to ask and learn from a Latina trailblazer, with the mission to inspire and motivate Latinas to enter a career where we just do not have enough representation. For more resources, visit our website, askthelatina.com. Welcome to Ask the Latina. My guest today is Rachel Aviles, and it's really special because she has two fields, law and finance. So I'm excited to have her as our guest. Hello, Rachel. Thank you for being with us.
Good morning, Terry. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Well, first tell us about your childhood, your heritage. At what point did you decide to go into your first field?
It's a lot of questions.
Let's start with your heritage first and your growing
Okay.
up.
I'm Bolivian. I'm actually half Bolivian, half white. So I grew up in a bit of a mixed household. But I did get to travel to Bolivia quite a bit. We had family in Argentina as well. So that's always been something very special. And even though my parents were divorced when I was 3, my mom still absolutely made sure to know how to make saisi, one of our traditional soups, and really uphold the culture and celebrate that as well. So it was nice to have that support and celebration of my heritage.
No, that's wonderful. It's so great. Wow. So you got a chance to go to Argentina and Bolivia. Me being Bolivian, of course, that's my favorite place too. So that's great. And then, what was it like going to high school? And at that point, did you know you were going to go into your first field? And which field did you choose?
Originally, I've wanted to be an attorney since I was 9 years old. I wanted to be a midwife and deliver babies. And then I was in the room when my sister was born when I was 9 years old. And at that moment, I said, "This is not for me." So I decided I wanted to be an attorney. And I went to a school that was in the township of the city that I'm from, and it was just a bit segregated. I can tell you where every culture sat. It was different. So when I was halfway through, I wrote a 4-page paper to my parents, giving them reasons why I should move to the city school. And they let me move. And it was very, very welcoming. And I got a lot of opportunities that I wouldn't have before. There was a lot of support there. So it was exciting and helped transfer me in even further in love with that field. I did a lot of mentoring while I was there, and I just really had a passion for law and for helping people.
So how did you get into the mentoring that early in your life? I mean, what did you have to do to do mentoring? Did you just volunteer?
So when I first started, the classes were a little more advanced at the original school I went to. So when I went to the city school, my first day of school, I sat in my English class and I had read every book that was on the syllabus for the year. So I went to my counselor and I said, these classes are a little too easy for me. So she moved me into all senior classes my junior year. And so my senior year, I really only had one class at school, and I had the rest of my classes at the local community college. And so with my extra time, I spent time tutoring. And I saw right in front of me all the issues with self-fulfilling prophecies. I was helping the troubled kids, right? The kids that people thought weren't going to do well. And I remember one specifically. Um, he was always considered the troubled kid. His brother was always considered a troubled kid. So he really had this connotation when he came in. And he didn't want to do his math assignment. And I told him, I was taking calculus at the time, if at the college, I said, if you can do one of my calculus problems, I'll do your whole math paper for you. And sure enough, he finished my calculus problem and he did it correctly. He was just bored and no one had shown him that he was worth something and no one had invested that time into him. So that really fueled my drive to be in law and help people and give people voices that others just didn't see potential in right away.
Wow, that's great. That's great, Rachel. You made a difference in someone's life so early. So, to what point did you? Well, when you went to college, how did you prepare for that? And because law school takes a little bit longer and everything, from what I understand, is that correct?
It does. I had a bit of a unique journey. So I became pregnant at the age of 18, and it was an assumption that I was going to drop out of school. You know, I was nothing but a statistic now, a young Hispanic woman pregnant. She's going to drop out of school and do nothing with her life. And that really frustrated me. So I got special permission from the dean to take 22 credits a semester because you're only allowed to take 19, and I went to summer classes, spring summer combinations, and I actually got my bachelor's degree in 2 years instead of 4. And then law degrees, they take 3 years at the minimum, so I was an attorney by 23. I just really fueled that the thought that people had of me to prove them all wrong.
Right. Oh my God, that's wonderful. That's good. You definitely proved them wrong, and I'm just so amazing you took all those credits, and it's nice to know that you can do that. You can also, have a baby and continue your career, and you can also pursue more credits by just simply asking, which you did really great with that. I think it's amazing. So, when you went through law school, were you like the only Latina there, or did you find that you were the only one in law school? Or were
I
there
wasn't
others?
necessarily the only one, but there were not that many.
Mm,
What really helped me out is I became a member of the Hispanic Bar Association. And I believe you know Lawrence Garcia. He
yep.
took me under his wing, and being connected with those attorneys who looked like me through that association and seeing what they did, it really gave me the strength to continue on and the inspiration to know that, I wasn't alone, and people like me were doing what I was doing.
Mhm. Yeah, that's an excellent group, and he's an excellent leader, and it's great that he did that for you, and I think that that was wonderful that you found that opportunity, because sometimes many students don't really realize that there's these organizations that they can go to early on, especially affinity groups like, the Hispanic Bar Association. That's great. So, what did you have to do next after you graduated? I mean, did you go to an internship, or how does that work as far as the steps go to become a lawyer and start working in?
So when you graduate from law school in the United States, you take the bar exam, and law school prepares your mind very much for how to read, essentially. But a lot of the things that you read have nothing to do with practicing actual law. They've actually done brain studies where they look at your brain before the first year of law school and after, and you're opening up a different segment of your brain. So a lot of what you're doing is really just training yourself on how to read. I remember having my casebook open, and then my Black's Law dictionary open, and then a regular dictionary open to explain what I just read in the other dictionary. So I would have these three books open, and it really just reframes how you're thinking. But the bar exam has a lot more to do with practical law, both in your state and then federal law. So you have to do a lot of training for that. And there are courses that you can take, but that whole 3 months in between graduating from law school and taking the bar exam, all I did was study. If I got questions wrong, the question that I got wrong, whatever the law was, I would handwrite the answer 5 times because studies show that if you handwrite something, you remember it more. I just had a very rigorous schedule. Plus, you have to handwrite your essays, or at least back in my day, you had to. I don't know if they still are handwriting essays, but a full day of handwriting when you're not used to it, that was part of it too. So training yourself to be able to be ready for everything. And then even though I had my daughter, some people might have seen that as a bigger challenge, but she really helped me focus. She was like my boot camp. She would say, "Oh my goodness," when we were listening to the teacher on the screen, "Oh, his voice makes my tummy hurt. Can you hurry up?" So I would have to do these things quickly. So she was training me to be able to pay attention no matter the distractions, and really focus and make the most out of my time because she was with me through the whole thing.
That's great. That's great. I always wonder how lawyers were so good at writing. So now I know, all these 3 dictionary or the 2 dictionaries and everything you're doing. I think that I'm always amazed in how well they write, the contracts and things like that, and always zero in. So that's absolutely great, great, great to know, and I can see that that's a very valuable skill. So you were in law. What field did you decide to go in? Because law takes you into different things. There's immigration, there's workers' rights, lots of different areas. Which one did you select?
So you can practice anything at the same time. There's nothing really specific you have to focus in on unless you're doing something like
Mm,
patent law where there's an extra bar. So I did a few different things. I did some. I started out with medical
mhm.
malpractice. And I did some criminal defense, some trial work. I really, really love trial. That's a lot of fun. And I did some wills and trust work as well.
That's
Well, I'm still a lawyer.
oh, yeah,
I
right.
practiced.
You're right. You're still a
We're
lawyer.
not
How
taking
long
that
were you?
away.
How long were
Uh,
you? Because you ended up changing to a field, so I'm
I
hoping you can tell
did.
us about how that transition happened. So you're
Sure.
still a lawyer, that's true, and this is probably an added value. So now you have another field. So tell us about what's that transition like, and how you decided to go into finance.
My father has been at Merrill Lynch for over 30 years. And, he always wanted me to work with him since I was little. And I was always worried about what people would think, that I only made it there because of my dad. And in fact, just 2 weeks ago, I was at a networking event and someone said that exact thing to me. They said, oh, that's how you made it there because daddy. And that was something that I always really feared, as a woman of color in this industry. It
Mhm,
was something I was worried about.
mhm,
But when I graduated from law school, I literally felt that chip fall off my shoulder. And as much as everyone, you know, everyone in the way that they were thinking of me, it did fuel me to, take those extra credits and graduate fast. But honing that kind of negativity like that will burn you out. And you really have to realize that it doesn't matter what others
mhm,
think. What matters is what you think of yourself. And you can still use your passion and your fire to do what you want to do instead of just proving everyone wrong. Because people will say mean things to you, then they go home and they forget about you. So why would you change your entire life for a moment of negative interaction? It really speaks more to them than to you. So that's a long way of saying when we finally discussed it again, you know, this these clients in the finance world, they become your family. You're with them through all these huge moments of their lives. And it just makes sense for people that I've known my
mhm.
whole life to work hand in hand with my father. Plus, writing wills and trusts, that just goes very well. The planning for the future complements each other. So it's something I always was interested in. I think math is comforting. I've always loved it. So it's a field that I love, and I'm still helping people achieve their dreams. So it still stays true to my heart.
That's great. That's wonderful, and I love that what you, said as far as, it really doesn't matter what others think, it's really that you're accomplishing so much, and so, yeah, they're petty for what they say and not to even bother with that, so that's very important. I think that's great advice. So now you're in finance, and that's wonderful because you transitioned right into that with a field in law. So you did you need any special, did you have to train in certain ways or did you just fall into it naturally because your love of math?
Well, what you do is you get certifications, the Series 66, the Series 7. Those are the testing. So I studied for those, took those tests and passed it, gained that certification. And there's a lot of training that you get. But really, any job, whether it's, these industries like law and like finance, you may work for a company, but so much of it is like owning your own business. It is what you make of it. Just because you have a law degree or just because you have your financial certifications, it's not going to make you successful. So it's one of those things where you have to constantly study. Um, People aren't going to tell you what to do, just like finding the affinity groups. It's not going to be laid out. So it's a lot of research, it's a lot of teaching yourself. It's very much a 24/7 job when it becomes your career and what you love. You you get what you put
Yeah,
in.
you're basically like an entrepreneur. So you're moving
Right.
forward. That's great. So now if you were to go back in time, is there something different you would do or give advice to yourself? Because you did amazing things. I can't understand what you would advise yourself, but just in case you or, if someone else is going through that same process that you did and what would you advise them?
Uh, Very simply and shortly, you are enough. I would say to myself and to anyone else. We struggle a lot with imposter syndrome. People make us question being in the room, and it doesn't go away. You just have faith in yourself in different ways as you get older. And I can't imagine where I might have been had I realized that younger. But also, I think it's good to go through the struggle because it leads to a different kind of compassion and empathy to help others in the future.
Yeah, that is so true. Now, did you have mentors too along the way? You mentioned you mentored, but did you have mentors yourself in when you were going through law school and also in your transition into finance?
I have mentors everywhere. I think that people are phenomenal in mentoring if you allow them to be. Um, I think oftentimes when we are insecure about knowing something and someone tries to explain, we may be defensive and not open.
Mm,
But the more you realize that your cup isn't full, the more you have space to learn. So I have had just absolutely phenomenal people in this industry. I'm actually part of our employee network at work, and it's just there's a camaraderie there. You can talk to people, and we're all humans, right? We get down in certain things, and we've all had different life experiences, so there's different perspectives. So I have multiple mentors for different parts. I'm a mom. I have moms who I consider mentors in their mothering phase. I have women in this industry, men in this industry, Hispanics, people of all different walks, because they all have something of value to add. And that's when we can really catapult ourselves forward, is when we take advantage of that beautiful experience they may have had that we just wouldn't have the time to have every experience on her.
that's great. Now, what would you say to a high school Latina who's kind of wondering, how am I going to find a mentor or how do I break through that barrier that she might have not knowing where to go? What would you give her as an advice?
Ask, keep asking. If you see someone and you admire them, go up and ask. If see something like this interview, you could look up my name and find me on LinkedIn and say, I would love for you to be my mentor. Or I know you have an amazing program coming out soon that's going to, reach many, many high school
Mhm.
students. There's so many opportunities that there are out there. Ask. The worst thing someone can say is no, and that has nothing to do with you. It's usually because they're busy, but you would be surprised how many people are really cheering for you. So ask for help.
That's great. Yeah, I'm excited also for our new program with the mentor mentee app between mentors like you and Latina high school students. We're going to increase that representation, and we're looking forward to that. So, this has been exciting. I really appreciate your time because you've given us not only all of us, but just basically you've given an open view to our Latina high school students that really need to see, that there's someone that looks like them that has accomplished 2 fields and nothing stopped her and there's everything is possible. So just gotta go for it. And I love that. So thank you, Rachel. I love that you shared your story with us and I think it's just so valuable, everything that you told us. So especially to our young Latinas.
Thank you for listening and for having me and for creating such a great
Oh,
platform.
you're welcome. Well, this concludes Ask the Latina. So I really appreciate you being with us and I hope you join us in the next episode.